and welcome to Hafa Hour, episode number 11. Good morning, Jeff. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine, Andrea. Thank you.
We're really going to have an exciting conversation about cannabis legislation. Are you excited to talk about that today, Jeff?
Anything you like, I can talk about, no problem.
All right. So I know you saw the news recently. Senator Parkinson was talking about the delay in terms of licensing and cannabis testing here. That could be an entire industry on Guam. What do you think about that, Jeff?
Well, I think any time that you give the government something to decide, the bureaucracy becomes involved and all the different opinions and everything else just slows things down. So waiting on $1 million lab or having to test everything and all that should probably be approached in a broader stroke, and people that are smoking haven't stopped because it isn't available in stores. There's people on Guam, I see all these little stores that have popped up everywhere, and people just, from what I hear, are buying weed there. And I don't know if it's from, I guess it's all from the States. But I do feel that if you know your grower and they're not using chemicals that are hazardous or fertilizers or items that aren't good for you, then continue. I mean, people are growing it at home, 6 plants, and I think that's fine. I am an advocate. I think it's better for people than the ice that's going around. I think that we could definitely solve a lot of these problems if we could open up marijuana to people that are suffering from ice or other drug withdrawals or symptoms or whatever they have arrived at by taking hardcore drugs. I smoked marijuana for 57 years, since 1967. And I started in Hawaii after I finished high school here, and my buddies from Guam were smoking there, and I tried it out and I enjoyed it, and I never stopped. I found weed in Florida, Las Vegas, everywhere I lived. It was always readily available. And I don't think it's a hazardous drug that the government wanted it to be portrayed as. And I think that now that it's more open, it's better for everybody.
Right. So there's a failure, I think, on the government's part to help cure this double-edged sword, right? On the one hand, you mentioned it needs to be tested and safe, right? And to ensure that it's safe for our public, right?
Well, I think that's good, but I also feel that if public health goes to where it's being grown and watches the process and certifies that it's not hurting us, that's good enough. I do have a concern about edibles because anything could be put in edibles. I don't think that we should allow people to add things to marijuana like Molly or ecstasy or things like that. So, of course, that has to be an item to be considered. But if we feel the people growing it and they've been certified by some government agency to be safe for us, I don't think anything should be stopped.
I mean, that could easily solve the problem, right? With in terms of licensing and lab testing requirements. That would mean that we have an entire industry available here as well, right?
Right. Well, we've always had the potential to have the industry. It's just taking 5 years now. I mean, typical of everything given to the government, not to be complete and not to be, I mean, even once they have the regulations, how do we make sure that they're being regulated? I mean, we have 600 bars and like 5 ABC inspectors. So if we got 30 farms, how many inspectors are we going to have from public health or whatever? I mean, everything has to fit. And like I said before, privatizing things, taking the government out is probably better than anything else we could do to move things forward.
Here's the big concern, right, that we need to talk about. Senator Parkinson's whole concept of people will import because the government is not creating a proper avenue for product here, local grown product to be tested. Just as you said, a simple solution would be public health, certifying its safety, right? Um, so Senator Parkinson's concern was, hey, if we don't have labs to test and certify and have these growers licensed, they're just going to import from the states, right? And now we lose the revenue. Our farmers lose the revenue.
I think it's already happening.
Yeah, yeah, I've
Where's
seen
all
it.
the weed coming from all these different places I see popping up all over Tumon and the island
Mhm.
that are selling marijuana derivatives? I mean, it's already being brought in from the States where people locally are being discriminated upon. They can't get rid of their weed in a store.
Right. It's interesting. There's new legislation that's trying to pass in the states, a new bill that's going to allow for this free transport of cannabis, even irregardless of whether one state allows it or not, whether it's legal or not in a specific state, the product can pass through.
That's good. I'm all for open market. I mean, to me, I don't care if they send marijuana into Guam from the States. I
Right.
mean, that doesn't bother me. If it's good, I want to try it. And
Mhm.
if it's good for me, I want to find out, you know? I mean, it's interesting. You know, to me, marijuana is not a hard drug. It just changes my mind. I have never had a problem performing anything I did. When I drove a taxi in Vegas, I could roll a joint with one hand. I had a hole in my mustache from my roaches. I mean, I was using my time to keep on moving. I was very busy, very active. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are affected adversely, and it's like alcohol. Stay away from it if you can't take it. Don't deal, don't even put it in your head or your body if you can't take it. That's common sense.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm one of those people that just get crazy. So I
Oh,
don't take it. I stay away, right? You have to
that's
know
the best
yourself,
thing you
right?
should do for yourself. I mean, not marijuana isn't for everybody.
Right, right. But there's no reason for people who want to enjoy it and know they can do that to be able to indulge in that. It's life, right?
Yes, and I think it's a lot less hazardous than drinking alcohol or getting into other products to change your mind.
Yeah. So, Jeff, here's a question. It's interesting about the social equity opportunity, right? The government has a lot of funds, a lot of opportunities where they can actually give money to people like farmers and cannabis businesses. What do you think about creating social equity so that our residents here and business owners here don't lose out on this opportunity?
Well, I think that that should be not only for marijuana, it should be for growing anything. I mean, this island is lacking when it comes to any type of produce or fruits or vegetables that people need. And marijuana should be just like everything else. If people want to grow it, then of course the government should encourage it because eventually the tax from the product should come to the government. It's always been my problem what the government does with tax money. I like them to get money, but I want them to use the money to make Guam better. Quality of life, better education, better roads, better everything we need, not just wasted on pet projects by politicians or the never ending flow of cash down to the bottom of the Marianas Trench without accountability.
I love that. Listen, you said it's as easy. You provided a solution in the first few minutes we were here. Public health test the thing, certify its safety, right?
Right, public health goes to your farm, make sure that everything is good and not harmful to you, and that there is a procedure in using fertilizers or chemicals that aren't harmful, and that it doesn't hurt your lungs or your body to be inhaling this stuff.
Right. And can you imagine? You always talk about commerce, right? Have commerce on Guam. Can you imagine if we were like the hub for the West Pacific in terms of exporting this organic product, essentially?
Yeah, well, I think that people can pretty much grow anywhere, especially out in these islands. And anything we could grow on Guam that could be exported legally would be good. I mean, there's nothing really being exported here except for, like I said, household goods by the military. That's it.
Right. But cannabis could potentially be something that's an exotic export item that people love to get from this island. If we could just speed up the process and have one small unit in the government to actually certify its safety or it's grown organically, that would be a solution.
Hopefully.
Okay. So who do you think would be the best person to like actually in the government launch a program that gets us somewhere in the next 3 months?
That would be a hard one. I think that it would probably take the governor's office because all your authority lies with the governor, and also all your politics lie with the governor. So it just has to be, I guess, if you got Will Parkinson spearheading it and making it happen, fine. I don't really have any problem with everybody that gets involved. I just don't want it slowed down by people not agreeing and not looking progressively and not moving forward. On Guam, we just tend to hold back. We don't finish anything.
Mm. And that's important because we've done, I mean, there are a lot of leaders in this space who've done the hard work, right? They helped it become legalized. Now we just have to actually get it on the market, right? Put it on shelves, have people license. Do you think there's any reason for this like double-edged sword that they keep talking about other than not actually pushing it forward?
Well, I don't think you have one strong person to lead it through.
Mm.
And I'm hoping Will Parkinson, if that's what people want, will do it. We'll make this happen. I mean, I don't really care who does it, really. It's just like I said, it's hard to get anything to move through the process on Guam. Everybody wants it to just stay the same because it might change the way things are and hurt some politician or some entity that is making something more out of it than it should be done. I mean, right now, I hear the big families are growing marijuana like crazy and getting ready to, introduce it. And I've heard this for years. I mean, it's crazy. Wow.
But that's the social equity part of it. We know that the people who have the money here on Guam will do that, right? They'll leverage that opportunity. There should be some form of grants or opportunities that allow it to be like a level playing field, really.
I think there's tons of marijuana out there now being sold illegally, whatever, legally. I don't know the situation in the stores, but the marijuana industry, since the slackening up and allowing people to grow it at home, is huge now. There's weed has dropped from $800 an ounce all the way down to $400 an ounce for premium quality weed, even $200 and $100 an ounce for people that have so much of it they just have to get rid of it. I mean, how are you going to get rid of it?
Yeah.
So in the stores, they sell marijuana for two joints, maybe 16 or 18 bucks. That's a high markup.
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot.
I can see it. I mean, I have some friends in Colorado who like specialize in this specific field. It's been a huge uphill battle for them. However, a lot of things are changing with like safe legislation, the Safe Banking Act. But Bank of Guam was recently one of the banks that allow cannabis businesses to store their money safely. What do you think about that?
I think it's fine, but I also think that the federal statutes have to be considered too, because from what I understand, the Fed's still not letting people use money for marijuana to open bank accounts and marijuana money to be transacted.
There is an interesting thing happening right now. I've seen cryptocurrency and cannabis money. There actually is legislation that's tied to each other happening now since the institution of the ETFs for cryptocurrency recently. I think they're trying to drive money back into traditional banking. Maybe they lost all track of where the money's going.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know much about that.
Yeah. Um, what do you think, Jeff? in terms of safety, because you mentioned like a progressive process, right? Or perception at least. In terms of safety, I'm sure there are some people on the island that don't feel it's safe, you know? What can we tell them? Because it is a natural product, right? It does help a lot of people, especially those suffering. What can we tell them to help them understand why this is not just progressive, but it's actually happening?
Well, for one thing, the federal government looks so disfavorably on marijuana for the last 100 years or so. And that caused problems because there's no real testing to see the benefit of marijuana to children with epilepsy or people with different disorders that marijuana could help. Also, the derivatives from marijuana could have a major impact on pain or different things in the human body if we're finding them useful. So the fact that you had all this Uncle Sam, don't step on the grass, and the Steppenwolf, mocking the government because of their stance against marijuana, which should never have happened. I mean, look at alcohol. Alcohol is a lot tougher on your system than marijuana. That alcohol, because of the correct politicians and because of the money to be made and because of what happened to it, became a huge industry. And marijuana has just been held back. So now we're finding out in the States, of course, California and Colorado, where you have progressive thinking people, marijuana is everywhere. And it's an industry that people are making fortunes on, and a lot of people are not making fortunes on.
I mean, in general, would you say it makes the population a lot happier?
I don't know, Andrea. I mean, I like marijuana, my friends do, but not everybody's like that. I mean, marijuana is something people need to try and see how they react to it. And if it isn't good, then forget it.
Mhm.
I mean, the first time I realized I was stoned is because I was so paranoid.
Yeah.
I was walking through Waikiki with my buddies, and I saw this rope on the side of the road, and it reminded me of a big snake. And we went for a ride up to Kailua through Kaimaki, and all the lights were like, freaking me out. And I enjoyed it. I mean, marijuana to me, if I get paranoid, it gives me energy and keeps me moving. I don't go sit in a corner and, do different meditation and all that stuff. I use it as an energy booster.
Mhm.
But it's all up to the individual. Many girls smoke marijuana, they go to sleep in like 2 minutes, so
Oh.
they're not fun dates, I mean, there's a
Oh, yeah.
lot to the aspects of how it affects you yourself.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of different uses. Anxiety, even dating, energy. I've seen a lot of categories in terms of how it can be helpful, right?
Well, sure, it could be. I mean, but how do you tell who it's going to work for and who's not going to enjoy it? I mean, you have to try it.
Yeah. I mean, and also just the education behind it, because I know that there are some ingredients in marijuana, like turpentines, things like that, that actually change the experience, you know?
Yeah, there's ways that turpentine makes it very strong. I mean, there's
Right.
a lot. And now I see in our society that kids in school are the first ones to, at a young age, start experimenting with marijuana now. And they should be able to tell from the time they start if it's good for them, or let's not say good, let's say if it's acceptable to their body and their mind to not hurt them or not, give them psychological trauma or anything that, might be bad considering they took it and now they're stuck with what it is.
Right.
Like eating. I don't like eating things because when you eat something, it stays in your stomach a long time.
Mhm.
And what are you going to do to get rid of it? Go walk around the block 30 times, make yourself vomit, sit in the corner and wait for it to go away? I mean, it's not for everybody. And the edibles, I mean, you smoke, when you finish puffing it or whatever, it just slows down after that. You're not getting stoned, so you can control it. But once you drop it in your gut, you got problems.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've heard tons of stories about like the edible market, but if you have never tried it, um, definitely should be tried for the first time, at least monitored, having someone you trust in a space with you to ensure you're safe. What do you think about that? Like this open conversation that we should be having with our youth because it's here. It's not something that we can avoid, right? It's illegal. It's here. They can get it. How do we navigate that so that we keep Guam safe for everyone who comes here? And just have a space where you become more educated as a person going into our society, a young adult.
Well, maybe we need a class in high school or junior high school
Yeah.
that tells you here, this could happen if you smoke marijuana. This could happen if you do heroin. This will happen if you do ice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we should be addressing all these situations, and we should be doing it to our youth, with our youth, and giving them the knowledge of others that not everything is that good or that bad. You have to decide yourself what it's like for you.
Oh, there's a fallacy with that moral compass, right? The fallacy that something is extremely good or extremely bad. So we just avoid talking about things that could possibly be classified as bad instead of educating.
Yeah, we need to be open minded about everything. I mean, especially Guam. Guam is such a small place that the communication here is pretty quick, and everybody should understand. And the problem here is that there's no real media that's chasing these things or researching, or, I mean, we need open minded people that are writing articles and writing the truth in these articles. Most of your media now is owned by big families and politicians, and unless they want to address it, it's not going to be addressed.
Right. It's usually, I mean, I know I just saw in that article, I would have expected the article on KUM or PDN, wherever I saw it, I can't remember right now, but to be a little bit more thorough because this is a big deal, right? But typically it's only like 2 paragraphs long, you know?
Right, and not much research
Right.
and not much open thinking, and getting different people's take on things.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, I think one of the reasons why I enjoy having this with you is because you always say, we got to tell the truth.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
marijuana is something that our doctors should be discussing, and we should be listening to what they say about it because they see the effects of it, and they have the patients visit them that are having problems with it. So I would like to know everything about it, like all concerned citizens. We
Yeah.
want to know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited about what's unfolding, but I'm really excited that because you've been on Guam, you love the people, you love the island, right? That you're willing to talk openly about it.
I love most of the people.
Most of the people are okay. Well, Jeff, we're at the 25-minute mark, and I do want to talk about upcoming events here at Jeff Pirates Cove. So I know Mother's Day is coming up. You want to share something about that?
Yes, Mother's Day is May 12th, and we're planning our champagne buffet with delicious seafood and steaks and lamb gyros and all that. And so far, we don't have many reservations. So if you're coming, please let us know, and we'll have a great buffet for you. And the people in the South, I really want you to come here because driving all the way down to Tumon and finding a parking place in the hotel and paying a lot more for the buffet than you pay for here isn't good. I have this place for you. I made Just Pirates Cove mainly in the South because I'm from the South and I love the South. And if everybody from the South patronizes me, I'll be better off. And so will you.
So, Jeff, I'm going to put you on the spot. We're going to do a Pirates log. Can you share a fond memory about a mother in your life? Maybe it's your wife or your mom with the public, since we're talking about Mother's Day.
Well, I have some great mothers in my staff. Some have 5 kids, they're raising them by themselves. And a lot of my good friends are mothers without spouses, or they're on their own. And, those are the people that really concern me. Even the people I really care about have children and no help from the fathers. So I really like those mothers the best. And I tend to take care of them and harbor and appreciate them a lot.
All right. That's a beautiful statement and a great place to end Hafa Hour, episode number 11. If everyone who's here and stayed with us, thank you for joining Hafa Hour. We really appreciate you. It will be on Spotify shortly with Jeff's approval. And we'll be back again next week with episode number 12.
Thank you, Andrea. Have a great day.